I'm doing it. I did it. It's done. Go for it. New Warriors come out to play. Why does it feel like? Why does it feel like it's been like a year since I've done this? Like,
because it went to absolute poop last month. That's right. I called it poop.
You poop.
Man,
poop podcast.
We couldn't get this plane off the ground last month.
Oh my God. I was conducting most of it. Like I'm sitting there like, it wasn't even one bar. It was like half a bar, like just it was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it's not a mess. So since we're not a mess, we'll keep going. Thank you for joining us on Come Out to Play, a New Warriors podcast. If you are watching this via live stream, which is the only way you can as of right now, we like for you to go ahead and click like and click subscribe to the LONGBOX CRUSADE, so you can see more of our stuff, so you can get automatic updates about when we are going to be doing stuff like Come Out to Play, all that. Courtney Holland is here to say hello. Hello, Courtney. She says, hey, messy warriors. Hello, Courtney. And yeah, that's it. One more. Linkovich says, hey, yo, warriors. What's up, Linkovich? Yeah, come out to play with us. All that stuff. I'm Delvin. That's Jarrod. He's got a question for me, maybe?
I do. It's going to be the easiest one, maybe, that we've done so far. There's a lot of new warriors on the roster in this issue. We're going to talk about that. That's the whole crux of the issue.
Yep.
What if you had to lose one from the original team and take one from the new roster? Lose one, take one.
Oof. You said it was going to be easy. That ain't easy, Jarrod. It's not, it depends on what you want, right? Like, do you want the team to like instantly get more powerful?
What do you want? You can explain it any way you like.
That's true. Like the first person that I'm thinking that I'd probably get rid of is like Speedy. Like as much as I like Speedy, I'd probably get rid of Speedy because like he won't fully like embrace those powers, and I'd probably add Alex Power. Like, and I tell Alex Powers like, hey, go ahead and take them other kids' powers. So I'm like, my team can be powerful. Like I got some dude who's controlling the elements. I got Nova in the sky. I got Namorita, Chimera in the water. You got strategist, and Night Thrasher. I like it. I like the idea of that.
All right.
What do you think?
I would ditch Silhouette since I haven't really done anything with her in a long time anyway, and replace her with probably Darkhawk just because I like him.
I mean, like, I don't know what you mean. Like, so they had Silhouette. Her own grandma.
Well, I didn't read that. That was in a spin-off thing that I didn't read.
Oh, I was like, I don't know.
They haven't used her in the main title in a while. So any
what do I do? It was like, God, okay.
Now she's like, I'm going with Bandit. You can leave, but going with Bandit. I mean, all right.
Yeah, it's like, so hold on. Your Night Thrasher, got a pretty cool name. You got lots of money. And you lost out to Bandit. Woo! By the way, Courtney said that she would get rid of Night Thrasher, like putting her solely on Team Auburn Elvis.
That's right. Replacing him with Bandit.
Like, that's just adding insult to injury. Come on now. I guess, we answered the question. You answered the question?
Yeah, I did the question. Told you it was going to be a quick one tonight.
It was. And, then let us continue with the quickness. Come Out to Play as a chronicling of the 1990 series, The New Warriors. The first volume of New Warriors ran 75 issues. We will cover all of this first volume as I rediscover my love for the series, help others find theirs, and share our love and joy with the listening audience. Grab your skateboards, your bucket, helmets. We playing. And we're talking about New Warriors issue 51. Cover credits go to Richard Pace and Brian Kane. Not used to saying those names. Like I'll admit it. Like I took the names off and then put them in. And my head was like, boo.
I think I like him more than you do, but that's all right.
Well, go for it, Jarrod. Please describe the cover.
All right, I will. This is an interesting cover, kind of a fun cover, playing with the concept of the issue. But first, for the basics, we have the classic 90s Marvel Comics logo in the top left corner. It's sort of a orangish yellow with white highlights. The New Warriors logo is appropriately smooshed. It is blue with red highlights, yellow background. And it is smushed because above it says make room for the New Warriors. And the bit is the cover is jam-packed with all of the original New Warriors, some of the new Warriors, and even a couple of those interim New Warriors like Rage, who wasn't original, but he's not new. You know. Right. Yeah. So that's all. They are all crammed in. Like everyone's trying to get a little cover space, and it's reminiscent of a JLI cover from the late 80s, the Giffen, DeMatteis era. Sort of that has a humorous vibe. They're playing with the cover. We got too many members and it's overstacked. And I won't tell you everybody who's on the cover because everybody is on the cover. Every old New Warrior, every new Warrior are all here. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think it looks good. I think it's a great first cover for Pace because he gets to draw literally everybody.
Yeah.
And so there's your cover description.
What do you think about it though?
I like it quite a bit. I like quite a bit. I'm a sucker for the JLI era of the late 80s and early 90s, Kevin Maguire style. And this really feels like that. There's even a couple of Kevin Maguire-ish faces in there. Cord has one as he's getting edged out by a spiky shoulder pad of Rage. Below like this. That's right. Below Rage is who is that right below Rage? He's got a very Kevin Maguire face, just the right of Firestar.
Good question.
Who is that?
At first I thought it was Alex Power. And I'm like, is that
he's on the left?
You're right. He's over there. It's like, is that the other Turbo? Mike?
Yeah, it's got to be who. That's a good call. It's got to be who that is. Because
he's like,
he's definitely got a Kevin Maguire-ish face. You got a speedball face who looks all too enthused to be brushed up tightly against Turbo. I think there's
he's like
creeper. He's got that creeper look. Yeah. So anyway, it's I like it quite a bit.
I see why you're liking it. Something Kevin Maguire, JLI.
It's very reminiscent of that. I like that.
I actually like the cover too, in that it's busy intentionally so. And so I kind of like it in a way that it's catching up with all of just the team members. And so you're right. There's no need to name them all because they are all there. And this, by the way, and I do want to talk about it when we get to the book at some point, but this to me was Richard Pace's strength. Like when it comes to splash pages, it's like he puts in detail and like you can like tell that there was time spent on each of them. And it's almost like out of the 30 days, it's like he spent about 28 days working on them splash pages.
I will have some highs and lows for the new guy to discuss as we go through today. That's for sure.
Yep. We will get to that. We'll get to that shortly because we got a couple of things in the way of talking about the book. One of them is rating it. Here on Come Out to Play, we rate things on a scale of 1 to 12, 1 to 10 nightsticks. Who knows, Jarrod? Like,
who knows?
Everything is off because this past Sunday, I'll give y'all a peek behind the curtain. Like this past Sunday was Mother's Day, and it's Mother's Day. We're not going to do like a live stream on Mother's Day because people are taking care of the mothers in their lives like they should. Mothers are awesome human beings. And so like we didn't do that. Like, so we'd have our do it live stream, which is normally the second Sunday of the month. And it has just thrown everything off. And it didn't help that I was sick last week. And so I wasn't able to podcast on Wednesday like I normally do. And so sure enough, I was about to head out of the door for work this morning. And Miranda's like, do you have a podcast today? I'm like, no, I don't have a podcast. It's not the second. And she looked at me and was like, yes, it is. And I'm like, so everything is just off for me for whatever reason. Like, don't worry, I'll do my best. But at least we got an internet connection. So
we do. We started the show on time. We have internet connections.
Internet connection.
Both my monitors are working. They didn't snap off the back of the computer.
So there are good things here, and we already got a couple of ratings, for our loyal listeners, followers. Courtney Holland said it's so fancy, gave it a 7. Linkovich says I'll probably give it an 8. It's definitely one of the more memorable covers to me. Did you rate it, Jarrod?
I didn't, but I will agree with Linkovich. I'll give it a solid 8. And that's a pretty good score for the new guy coming out the door. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me.
I can go with an 8 out of 10. Like, my biggest thing, anytime that you have like any new artist, old artist, whatever, like I need to be able to tell who the characters are without having to kind of like lean in. It's like, huh? Who is this? No problem there. Everything's clearly delineated. I just laughing because I'm even seeing on the cover you got Night Thrasher with his arm around Silhouette, like staring at Bandit. So,
she doesn't look too pleased about it either.
No, neither one of them look too happy. It's like they're kind of doing, that Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson there, Girl's Mind. Jim Meal, welcome to the chat, says it's got Darkhawk on it, so it's at least a 9. I agree. That's a very
Jim
good
Meal
Darkhawk
loves the Darkhawk.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm kind of partial to him myself. Not yet. Him.
Well,
yes. So anyway, here is Jarrod with the credits for the issue.
All right, we are clearly talking about New Warriors number 51. Its on sale date was July 26th of 1994 AD. Its cover date, however, September of 1994. Cover price is 150 pennies. The story is by Fabian Nicieza. Penciler is Richard Pace. Welcome to the show. Inks are... Is it Brian Kane?
No.
No, on the inside, it's Andrew Papoy.
That's what Mike's Amazing World says.
Okay.
So, hold on. Mike's Amazing World said that, and I took Mike for his word. The book says Pepoy, Patterson, Kane, and Riggs, which sounds like a law firm.
Law firm, yes. So this was a many hands inked issue, and that's what I was remembering because I was like, I can't remember. Yeah, it's multiple inkers. Colors is Joe Rosas. The letters is Chris Eliopoulos, and the editor is Rob Tokar. And those are your creators on this book. With that, I will switch the banner to say story review, and Delvin will start the synopsis.
Right after another quick ramble, for whatever reason, I read it first, for whatever reason, reading Richard Pace, I thought of Pace picante sauce. I have no idea why. Was that the one where they would it's like, oh, he's got Pace picante sauce. Like this other one, he's got this one from New York City.
New York City.
Get a rope.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. We are on the same page there. Unsurprisingly, the title of this book is Another Think Coming. Who stays and who goes on the New Warriors after the fallout of issue 50? And why does Bad Thinker care about it? You know the deal. Jarrod brings up panels from the book. We talk about said panels, and discussion forms forthwith. Let's do that thing, Jarrod.
We'll do that. There's going to be 10 today.
Whoa.
Because there's a lot of check in with this person, check in with that person. So we're going to check in with those people. I started not with page 1, but with the splash page. I kind of liked it because it's reminiscent of the 70s JLA, JSA covers where they have like the JLA members who are going to be on it in it, and JSA members are going to be on down the other side. It has that feel, or maybe even a GI Joe issue where they would do that, show you who all the players were going to be in it. They do that occasionally. I like that effect. It really lays out, all the folks are going to be in it. You're right about the splash page, especially Night Thrasher looks particularly good. That's kudos to not just the penciler, but the inker did a great job, and the colorist with the reflections on the glass. Really, really well done. And the other favorite thing about the splash page is Hindsight Lad.
I like that too.
Doing the hindsight thing. This is when I saw this page right after the cover, I was happy because I was like, I feel like we're in a happy time again. There's been a lot of, especially around justice, there's been a lot of heaviness in this book, and I was just getting burned out on it. And this, you can already see the fun being re-interjected into it. It's like, I don't know if Fabian was like, man, I got to brighten this up. We've been dark for too long. Or if the Marvel Editors Group was like, dude, you need to brighten this up. We've been dark or whatever it is. But I knew I was in for something nice when I got to this point, which is really pages 2 and 3.
That's right. I mean, it's the new Warriors. Like, new means it's supposed to be shiny. Like, it's not supposed to be all rusty and dirty, just sitting out in the rain and all that and whatnot. So I do I see what you're saying there, and sure enough, that image of Night Thrasher like leaning in. And,
it's great.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's freaking. It's great. There's like enough said about that, and we'll never fully know unless because even at this point, I would imagine if you ask Fabian, he's like, man, this is ancient history. I don't even want to talk about it. But I know that at one point they were going to be separating the teams into 2 different teams. There's going to be like a Warriors, and there's going to be like new Warriors. Maybe they're going to spell like one of the 2 Warriors teams with a Z. I will forever wonder. So I will forever bring up why they didn't choose that direction, other than they're like, sales are waning. Like the original Warriors book was only selling like 250,000 books.
Numbers they would kill for today. Numbers they would kill for.
My goodness. So yeah. So they kept that idea of the different the panels of the teams, and I do like that, and I absolutely did like Hindsight Lad. And just speaking of the book itself, the exposition came from Matt Thinker, and Matt Thinker was kind of like, the Warriors are going in a direction, and I don't like it. And sure enough, mirroring Matt Thinker, you had Night Thrasher like, this sucks, and I do not like it. So that's where we are right now. Hello to Doc Strange. Hello to Auburn Elvis, and hello to Kathy Bright, the MVP.
The one thing I just noticed on this page that I also like, it's double awesomeness with Hindsight Lad, because not only is he doing hindsight things in his box, but I like the way that he's like up in the grill, if you will, of Night Thrasher, like giving the side eye, almost like he wants to be where the leadership decisions are being made.
Yeah.
See how he's doing that in the main picture? I'm
like, I got you. I got you.
Detail. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
So that's kind of pretty cool. All right. I'll move us along, and then people can see our beautiful, handsome, ruggedly handsome faces.
Absolutely.
There we go. All right. So not long after this, maybe the next page, maybe a couple pages, we really get introduced to the fact that the Mad Thinker is getting involved again. And with his Plastic Man-esque cohort that runs with who I can't remember his name.
Primus.
And Primus is one of the things that I wanted to point out is a strength of Richard Pace. He's clearly having a lot of fun with the manipulations and poses and models and all that stuff of all the things you can do with Primus. He's a fun character to draw because there's so much to do there. And he's going to look good throughout the whole book. There's going to be some characters that I think are a little wonky and maybe a little off model, or maybe I just need to get used to Richard Pace. But this page in particular, pretty good. The Thinker looks good. Primus looks good. This story-wise, this gives us the insight that Mad Thinker I remember him being involved before. Like he has some weird involvement that they haven't really expanded upon yet. So that's what's going on story-wise and art-wise. This is a very good page. And it also is, I want to point out with the comic craft, you can really tell the difference between him and I don't know which, there's 4 inkers on this book, so I can't speak to consistency of the inker, but look at all the fine line work on this. Very fine ink lines, especially on Primus in that muscular shot there on the bottom left. A lot of fine ink lines that you wouldn't have seen in the Malstat era. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I mean, some people really like that extra more lines, more detail thing. And some people like a little bit more solid, smooth. That's to your taste. But here's definitely a showcase that Malsted's gone.
Right. Some people like that Sinkovich, John Romita Jr. Some people like, that Mark Bagley or even a Brayfogle. Brayfogle was more lighter ink than darker ink. So, yeah, I see you there. Hello to Jason Lady, who just came on. He had a comment that's worth saying since we were talking about it. It says, I remember reading this back in the day and not liking the art. Reread it recently, and I like the art a lot better now. We're not there yet. We're kind of there. We're dancing around that subject, and we will get to it. And Courtney, with a joke, says, I have a feeling we're going to have to use our thinker. Which we sometimes don't do on this show, but it's charming.
Rarely.
And Auburn Elvis lets us know that it was issue 3 that the Matt Thinker made an appearance. So he has been around the Warriors for a while, but he hadn't come back since then. And I wish I can tell you if he had an agenda, whether that agenda was revealed. I think this isn't the last time we see him. Pretty sure we don't see him for a while, but this is not the last time we see Matt Thinker. So he had a thought process, and it's interesting, of course, because the Matt Thinker, for the most part, is a bad guy. He's a supervillain. Heck, I just read an issue of Avengers where the Matt Thinker was a part of a contingent that just took over the Avengers big HQ that's out in space. And only Sam Wilson, Captain America, is there to defend it. It's been a good read so far. But back to this, yeah, I agree. I think that he did have fun with Primus, and I do think Primus is a fun character. It's also fun because the Transformers God, we just talked about it in the not yet released Transformers Chronicles 60, where the Transformers God is named Primus. This was a few years ago. If I had to guess, Fabian Nicieza was using the reference Primus for like the alt rock band Primus. So I could be right. I could be wrong. I have no idea. But yeah, I do think it was fun. And it was fun looking at the different things that he morphed, or I'll give him the gender role of he morphed into throughout the book. It was very fun.
Indeed. All right. Next page. We got a few of these to do tonight. All right. So remember how I said back on the splash page, the first one, it was reminiscent of JLA, JSA, or perhaps some G.I. Joe. This is really G.I. Joe right here. So I had to put it in there. They did this in issue 1 of G.I. Joe. They gave us the sort of architectural drawing of the pit, and they have done that here for the crash pad. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put that in the book, man. And, it makes me wonder if Pace actually drew it. I doubt it. I bet they did it in like AutoCAD back in the day. That's what you would have probably used and then put it in there. But hey, I don't know. It looks cool though. Always love it when they give us the little blueprints of the base thing. That's very, very G.I. Joe, and certainly other books have probably done it as well.
Yeah, the X-Men back in the day had they literally had like a comic book that was about the specs and everything of Charles Xavier's mansion, and then they probably blew it up 2 issues later because it's the X-Men. Right. But I have always liked that too. It's like, because if anything, you probably had, they're like, hey, we're going to give them this building. It's like, all right, so we have to at least come up with an idea of what they're going to be doing on each floor and keep it consistent so it makes sense. So this is probably a little bit of inside baseball shown outside, would be my thought.
Yeah. So I had to include that. It's just a cool page. Okay, this is where we check in on, we're going to do a lot of check-ins on members and new members. And it's going to be a lot of angst. Almost every one of them is angst. Oh, this one's Cloak and Dagger. You don't want to be my friend anymore. I do, but I also want to hang out with new warriors. But you don't want to hang out with me. But I do. But I got to know new warrior. Look for this repeating theme a lot in this episode, ladies and gentlemen. But Richard Pace does a really good Cloak and Dagger. I think this art is looking good on this page. A lot of people, I've noticed in the chat, Jason Lady mentioned that he likes it with his older eyes. I'm new to this altogether. So I never had the depth of, of course, Bagley's Bagley, and Derek was Derek, yes. Mm-hmm. And they're all fine. But yeah, this doesn't bother me one bit, especially this page looks great, especially the first panel. A lot of cityscape stuff that I'm sure whoever one of the 4 inkers that got this page was like, hand me my templates. Because you're going to have to do a lot of cityscape work. But it looks nice.
I do. I think that you could do cool things with Cloak, assuming you know how to draw. And so sure enough, they got him back there, in that brood pose. With the cape, doing the cape thing, but you don't have to see his face because he's in the shadows because he's Cloak, right? And he's in the shadows because he's Cloak. So that's, I can't remember who, help us out, listening audience, who came up with the idea of Cloak and Dagger? I don't know. It's not ringing in my head. I think they were a Spectacular
First
Spider-Man.
Appearance is in Spec, or is it?
I want to say Spec Spidey.
Spec. It's either Spec or Web. I'm leaning towards Spec as well, but that's an Auburn Elvis question. We all know that. So first appearance of Cloak and Dagger. I'm a big fan of the Rick Leonardi era where they got their own book in mid 80s. And didn't they try a TV show with them at some point? And I was like, that's the hardest formula to jack up. And then they cut to the infomercial guy who's like, oh, I can't spill and everything, because I don't think it ever went anywhere. And I was like,
yeah, I think they did a Cloak and Dagger something.
Yeah, I think maybe the actors who saw who made the show watched the show, and that was maybe it. It was I remember I swear they came up with something, but I never met anybody who's seen it. And the whole time I was thinking, it's such an easy concept to work with. I
agree. You got the light and the dark.
Easy.
To me, yeah, that's like every teen anything, Auburn Elvis did chime in. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 64 from 1982. I do think that it added a dynamic to Cloak and Dagger, having them here at the team, and Dagger just kind of we do our thing, but our thing is kind of sad. And not sad, pathetic, but we were born out of misery. And her decision was I still love you, and I don't want to not be around you ever, but I do want to explore other dynamics, because sometimes that's what you have to do as friends. You can't just keep the same friends all the time. Sometimes we have other groups of friends to explore different things with.
As the Cloak and Dagger fan, the only thing that bothered me, and I got all that, the only thing that bothered me is it really just felt like, after reading as much of them as I had, which is a fair amount, it really felt like it would be more to her character to say, come with me. You need this more than I do, actually.
Yeah, I think she tried. And he was like, nah.
I'm Batman. You're not Batman. I'm close.
I could be. So yeah, I think she tried a few, I don't know whether it was in the Warriors or whether it was in one of the side books or time and time again, but she did try. And Dagger was kind of yeah, and Cloak was meh. So it was either time and time again or the storyline from the 30s, where Forces of Light, Forces of Darkness, Forces of Light, where Cloak and Dagger were a part of that book, And I think around that time they were kind of like, hey, you want to stay? And Dag was like, yay. And Cloak was like, meh. So either way, like, so I agree with you. I think that, you know, Dagger being the light is like, hey, come on, let's meet these other people. And Cloak just was not a fan of it. So, yeah. By the way, Auburn was also said that the writer of Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 64 was Bill Mantlo. So
Bill
he confirmed it. Jason Lady got it right a little bit earlier.
All right, let's check in on somebody else. Who's it going to be? It's just a quick check-in on Speedball and Rage, and it's weird. And it's like, so for the listening audience, it's basically like they're two buddies. They're the two buddies of the team. They're off like having lunch, and Rage is like, hey, there's this woman that wants to date me. And I don't remember how old she was.
21,
and he's what, 13 or 14?
14.
Doesn't look it, but he is. And that's weird. And Speedballs are like, yeah, you should go out with older chicks. And they like high five. And I'm like, I need an adult. It seems weird. I mean, it's a topic I think to grapple with because he looks older. And so he's going to attract that kind of attention. But I guess you'd have to say they're in character. They answered it about as well as two stupid teenage boys would.
Yes.
So
yes. And that is Auburn Elvis with the obvious but funny comment of Colossus sees no problem with that relationship.
Colossus is A+ right here. Not a problem.
What's this problem, comrade? I do not see.
You Russian bastard.
Yeah, like the saving grace for this is, so like I think Speedy is like 15 or 16 and Rage is 14. And Jason Lady, our helpful commentary continues, says he's 7 feet tall, gotta be. I'm sure there's like listed somewhere. So yeah, it's not like the 90s were any different from women liking tall men. That certainly hasn't changed. And so like old girl, like, first of all, Rage rescued her daughter from certain death. And then, they went had dinner at, her place, and like, and she planted one on him, like, and he was like, oh my God, the saving grace was that these were two teenagers talking. And yes, I can see a 15 and a 14-year-old or 16 and 14-year-olds like, you're dating a 20, or you got a chance to like be with a 21-year-old. Heck yeah, man. I can see it. Like I can on that part. And that was the saving grace to me. Because otherwise, I was pulling Prince's face like,
I guess my biggest beef with it here is the same beef I have with Claremont and the Kitty Pryde is if you've ever met and spoke to a 14-year-old in real life, dumb. We all were. It's like Kitty Pryde speaks and carries herself like a late teens, early 20s girl when she's 13 and 14. And they're not doing that so much with Rage, but they're giving him more credit than a 14-year-old boy probably should have. But minor.
Right. Like I do think, like, I can say, heck, I'm 48 now. 14 was a long time ago. You see these situations that pop up and they're icky as all heck, where it's like, this female teacher seduced this 13-year-old boy, like, what? And sure enough, in the comments, you'll get people who aren't teenagers. They're like, oh yeah, I wish I had that when I was a kid. No, you don't. Like, and at 14, I never had that opportunity, and I'm glad I didn't. That's,
yeah.
Anyway,
let's pick a different page.
Next page.
Checking in on Alex Power and the Power Pack, where he's all like, I think we're doing this team. They're like, you don't want to be with our team anymore. He's like, I do, but I want to be with the team. They're like, no, you don't want to be on our team. Remember, this is a theme going on here. So this is the second time we're going to see this theme. but it had a Ren and Stimpy t-shirt. So this, by the way, is where I think Rich Pace struggles the most. Could be his inker, but
the paneling.
Alex Powers and is that Julie Power the top left? I can't remember all their names. I think he struggles like most artists do. This is not, so I'm not picking on Richard Pace. I think he struggles with young people. That sort of 10 to 14 range is real hard to capture. And I think he's struggling a little bit here, but it's not the worst by any means. So, but compared to the work he's doing with Primus, this is kind of the page I was going to say it is probably his weakest page, but it's passable. Yeah, better than I could do off the cuff for certain.
I think that just speaking of the story wise, like you're definitely paring it down to its essence of it being angsty, but I do think that there were at least different dynamics at play here. In this case, with Alex, like what the other trio of the Power Pack did not know is that he could take that he could take their powers. So there was an important part that was at least brought up that is like, yeah, I do want to kind of have my own thing, just like y'all have y'all's own thing. And I want to hang out with guys and girls that are closer to my age. But I will admit that me taking your powers like that was wrong. And so I won't do that anymore. I'll only use my gravimetric powers when I'm with the team. Does he stick to that?
Doubtful.
Very doubtful. I don't remember, but it's doubtful. Because you know how it goes, all right? It's like, just real quick. So I think it's doubtful too, but I do think that the dynamic's just a little bit different. Like the thing probably still is angst, and I'll go with that. But like a little bit different family dynamic, and I wouldn't know. I didn't grow up as the older brother. I grew up as the younger brother, much like you did. So like I don't know the responsibilities of being an older brother. Like in my head, the responsibility of the older brother is to go out and do something stupid. And then I look and it's like, I'm not going to do that stupid thing.
I got both because I was an older brother and a younger brother.
That's true. You're a middle. Like I grew up, it was just the younger of two. So yeah, go figure.
Yeah. Well, the theme continues. Yeah, you know, be part of my team. I do. No, you do. All right. And we're going to check in on Namorita, or Chimera, as she's called now. And
Nova.
Thank you. Nova. Where they were about to have naughty playtime, but then had to call to the mission. Kudos to the artist, again, Richard Pace, or maybe the writer had a hand in this as well, for putting that rubber ducky front and center, and me not realizing that it was Primus. I was like, how dumb am I? Because it gets revealed on the next page it's Primus. And I was like, how dumb am I to not have noticed that? But that's really quite clever.
That is clever. Yeah. That is clever. And why would Chimera, Nita, Namorita, whatever, why would she have a rubber ducky?
Because they make bath time so much fun. It's
clearly
in the song.
my bad. Like she was hoping that Nova made bath time kind of fun.
I'll tell you what.
Him talk about, I don't have a bathing suit. I'm like, bro, you're jacked and you have on boxers, probably with holes in them. Get in the tub. She didn't ask for no details, bro. Just get in the tub. So yeah. I did think that was funny, but at least it wasn't angsty, right?
No, yeah, it was a breath of fresh air. I gotta adjust this comment from Jason Lady. So Marvel actually had a Ren and Stimpy comic at the time. I actually recently in my yard sale adventures found a full run of Marvel's Ren and Stimpy. I want to say one of the writers on it
was it Dan Slott?
I think it was Slott. I think Slott was on
I know.
it. Yeah,
I know Dan Slott wrote Beavis and Butthead.
I think Slott did some Ren and Stimpy as well. So yeah, I found a full run of that, and I ended up giving it to my buddy who was a big Ren and Stimpy fan. So he enjoyed that. All right.
How much you pay for it?
Not much. I think $10 for. I think the full run was. Somebody cool in the chat figure out what the full run of Ren and Stimpy was, but I want to say it was 24-ish. 18, 24 issues, maybe. But
I mean, I knew you didn't pay much for it. I was just giving you an opportunity to
you know me.
to flex your yard sale bona fides there.
Okay, well, let me tell you then, because it came in a bundle that I paid $60 for the whole bundle, and that ended up being great. It had a full run of them. It had a full run of the Thundercats by Marvel. It had a bunch of the issues of G.I. Joe magazine, which and some He-Man magazine. Those were a lot of fun. Very cool.
Nice.
Anyways, back to the show. All right, let's go to the next page, which is Silhouette and Bandit. And she's all like, I don't want to be part of the team. He's like, but you should be part of the team. She's like, I don't want to be part of the team. And the theme continues. And I don't care. Just tell me. I don't need all the angst to issue, the long issue to just pick the new team members. I don't care. But, man, they got their mileage out of it. And
no, they got to have an issue of it. Won't they?
Yes, I guess.
They didn't do that in JLI?
They did, but it was fun in JLI. This is okay. That was very fun. But whatever. I'm partial. So it was kind of good because, again, it's kind of like they've been using Silhouette in peripheral titles, as you've alluded to earlier in the show. But as far as in the main book, as a guy who's just reading the main book, like she hasn't been around. I mean, she showed up to play a part in the big story arc we just finished at 50, but she hasn't contributed much at all in the main book. So when she's like, I'm leaving, I'm just like, well, bye. And then when she's like, I'm going Bandit, I was like, it doesn't seem like a smart choice, but okay.
Here's the line that like that kind of pegged Bandit to me as a loser. He didn't say anything. He kind of had the smug look on his face, but like Night Thrasher was like, him? You broke up with me so you could go out with my half brother, a man who kidnapped you and tried to kill me? And she says, Bandit can't be painted in primary colors, Dwayne. As soon as he said that, I was like, loser.
Yeah, you need to leave, by the way.
Yeah, like it can't be painted in primary colors.
Yeah, when I read that too, I was like
back in the day, I would say that that friend was like your type of a-hole. That's how I would have. That's who Bandit is. I'm
going to bring that up in a regular conversation next time someone's downing someone else and be like, hey, you can't paint them in primary colors. Just watch everybody stare at me like, what does that even mean? I'm like, I don't know. It's dumb.
It's like, we're not anywhere near vegetables. How am I getting pelted with tomatoes? By the way, Auburn Elvis and Jason Lady both said
44. Okay, it was more than I thought.
44 issues. Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking 2 years, but it must have been closer to the 4-year mark. Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty good stack. So yeah, that makes more. Yeah, 40. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the comic book runs for 44 issues nowadays. I know what you're laughing at. And since
they can't get to 44 on anything now, and they got 44 issues out of Ren and Stimpy.
Of Ren and Stimpy. Right?
God, I missed the 90s.
I mean, that's one thing. Nowadays, people talk about the price of comic books being too high. And like I've mentioned before in other podcasts, that's neither here nor there, right? But the thing that you cannot deny is, especially in I think the 90s may have been the last decade where I wouldn't say having Ren and Stimpy run 44 issues was the equivalent of throwing crap against the wall. I'm not saying that per se, but what I am saying is that if you're getting a Ren and Stimpy book, it's never going to be here on this very special issue of Ren and Stimpy. Ren explores this field. It's no, Ren's going to pick his nose. Stimpy's going to pick his butt. They're going to call each other idiots. Stupidity's going to occur. This happened for 44 straight issues, and Marvel's like, yes. You son of a bee, I am in.
Butthead had a comic. Bill and Ted had a comic.
Heathcliff had a comic.
Man, good old days. They would just try stuff. You're going to get me on a soapbox. That's the way I feel about modern movies. Remember back in the 80s and 90s when people just tried stuff, and now everything's oh gosh, turn this into $1 billion property. Just
right.
Give some filmmaker $15 million. He'll make a film that makes you $75 million, and that's a good day, right there.
Right.
Just ask John Carpenter. He made a stellar career out of it. Anyway, I'll keep going if I don't switch the page.
Next page.
Next
page.
page.
Yeah. Next page.
Next page is it's kind of a checking in with the old New Warriors and sort of how they've developed. Clever way to do it was sort of the minimalist costume changes to talk about how they've changed. A good catch-up issue, like if you join the book late, this is, as a guy who's been reading it monthly for divided by 12
4
years now.
4 years, 3 months.
Goodness gracious. This is not news to me, but I thought it was cleverly done. Single page, simple art. I love how Rage gets bigger in each panel. I think that's clever. So yeah, well done. Well done from the craft point of view here.
I got you. And so Auburn Elvis asked the question, what do we think of the trip down memory row or memory lane with everyone's costumes? And so you kind of just mentioned that. And I liked it too. Like I think Richard Pace made an easy artistic choice by like doing just very simple sketch drawings. But in that he went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a little Night Thrasher panel. Like that was a lot to go through, and they didn't have a lot of panel or pages to do it. So I can't really fault him for that.
No, from a craft point of view, it's great. I think.
Yeah. I'm not going to. I think that was pretty good. Well, we're about to get to that Richard Pace point. Well, how many pages left? 2? One
more page.
What?
And we're on schedule. Nice. And it's the second to last page, and I want to get rid of the banner because it covers over the best part. It's like the one I cared most about was Dark Hawk. Like, yes. He's definitely kind of the coolest. He kind of made sense. They teased him in like issue, I'm gonna get corrected in the chat. I'm gonna say 7 when he was in it back then.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And so he was the one I was most interested in. And then like they had all this big angsty discussions, different people, and he was like, can I be part-time? And he was like, yes. Okay, simple. I love it. That's what I wanted to see. I got you.
Yeah, and you're right. They did, like, he didn't get that his moment, his angst moment. So
he didn't need one because he's like, hey, I gotta fight the hobgoblin and shit. So while I'm on that topic, by the way.
Okay.
That's something I was thinking about. I've been hot and cold on the New Warriors throughout this whole project, mostly lukewarm to warm. But one of the things that I've sort of steadily complained about is their villain lineup. There hasn't been one yet that I've been like, yeah, that villain right there. It's always sort of these secondary tier guys, Mad Thinker, Terax, Sphinx. No one that's really energized me. And Dark Hawk coming on at the same time, I think that was one of the greatest things they did for him, was give him like Hobgoblin as his sort of lead, because that's a win on 2 levels. Because it's like, that's an interesting villain. And, even though people don't remember this, like Hobgoblin at the time where he appears in Dark Hawk is like 6 years old, 7 maybe. He's not even a decade into the Spider-Man yet. Like he's so it's like, that's the perfect kind of grab character that New Warriors needs, is someone who's yes, that is an absolute hit villain, but no one's really strip mined him yet. That to me was the difference, having read some Dark Hawk and some New Warriors. And there's been some talk about maybe you and I doing Dark Hawk after we put this series to bed, and that'll be interesting. But just from that macro take, I think the villain, like we say on Action Film Face Off, you want to have a good movie, you got to have great villains. I think that's where Dark Hawk has the edge.
I got you. Jason Lady has a challenge and says, Jared, what about Midnight's Fire?
I mean, he's cooler than Bandit, and he's got a great name. It's a possessive name. There's a possessive apostrophe in his name, which is hard to come by.
Right. And what about the left hand?
I completely forgot about the left hand.
That was the was it Inner Circle.
Yeah, something like yes.
The most original villains that the Warriors have been given. Well, there's the Forces of Nature. They've popped up a couple of times.
Star Killer, Space, something like that. There was a guy.
Yeah, a Star Thief. Star Thief was early, but I don't think he comes back. The Folding Circle. Thank you, Jason. Like, I mean, do I do a show about the New Warriors?
Listen, man. It's not called We Memorize the New Warriors.
Like the Forces of Nature and Cyanex. Cyanex has been around in and out of the book a few times and will be around a few times more to come. So I do get what you're saying. And I definitely think Darkhawk needed that right away with Hobgoblin. And the New Warriors get a little bit of that rub from the Spider-Man universe as they become a part of the Spider-Man family, because they're doing families back then with the Marvel bullpen and all that. And the New Warriors gets kind of moved under there. And so they kind of get a little spider jolt coming up, not in the near future, but near enough.
That is what made me wonder, by the way, when there was talk of maybe spinning off a second book from the series, having New Warriors and New Warriors. I wonder if they knew in advance, like if it was already planned that like we're going to be part of the Spider Universe, so don't do that. And that's how the second book got kiboshed. I don't know. I don't know how far in advance they planned that.
Maybe I need to like just take one night, and do a deep dive into Reddit or something. Like look up some Reddit New Warriors and see some theories.
Come out of conspiracy theorists and shit.
Yeah, come back next month, like a tinfoil hat.
It's in the airwaves, man. It's the 5G.
I went too deep, man. I went too deep.
Don't go in there. No.
So now's a good time, and we don't have to spend a bunch of time on it, but this is the debut issue of Richard Pace, and he was not given the proper service because there are 4 inkers on the book. So
100% agree. 100% agree.
So we didn't fully get to see his talents, at least not with, his inker. So with that said, though, what do you think about Richard Pace overall in his debut on the New Warriors?
I overall liked it. The final page we have up is kind of a good summary. The large panel, clearly he likes to draw Night Thrasher. He's really good at it. The large panel Night Thrasher is outstanding. Panel number 3, where they're standing in front of the fence, is it's a little lean. But again, a good inker can really pump that up. So yeah, he got shortchanged a little bit because we don't know what the steady look of the book is going to be. But I think it was fine work. I would say he came out with a solid B effort, which is that's not, in modern parlance. I'm like, oh, but no. I mean, on like A, B, C, D, F scale, a solid B, like, yeah, not like B movie. You know what I'm saying, but like, yeah.
But I mean, you get my understanding. I get your understanding on that because, see, you get me on a rant there where you're right. Like you see a picture of like a guy that goes to the gym a couple times a week and then takes his shirt off, and someone's like, "Oh my God, you have a dad bod," and it's like, that's a regular dude. Like everyone doesn't look like that fitness influencer with 18 abs, like, right? Like, I mean, and so
maybe you don't, but
sorry, not all of us look like Jared Albrecht. But
go on.
I think it's oversack. But with Richard Pace, like, oh my, like, he got dealt a bad hand. You remember me kind of mentioning like the other books, the Nova Night Thrasher, and how like the artwork just like, I mean, compared to Derek Robertson and Larry Malstead, it just didn't hold a candle. It didn't. And Richard Pace was kind of dealt a bad hand here in a sense that like his splash pages were fantastic. I thought generally speaking, like his other panel work was not as great, but I also agree with Jason Lady as well as and saying it wasn't as bad as I thought. Like you can't be mad at someone for not being Larry Malstead and Derek Robertson. Derek Robertson is a fantastic penciler, and sometimes like just as the more a book goes on, like unless it's your flagship, if you're Amazing Spider-Man, you're pretty much never going to have a bad artist on Amazing Spider-Man. But on a book that's not Amazing Spider-Man, guess what? You're probably going to get that artist or two who's just cutting their teeth in the industry. And I don't know whether or not Richard Pace was or not. I'm not saying that, but you get what I'm saying. Like, so he didn't do that bad of a job. I think he was put in a bad situation.
Yeah, and I think he did fine. I was just answering Elvis's question in the chat because I wanted to be cool. Also being the guy who's made an indie comic and is almost done with his second indie comic. As the writer, when you're in indie comics, you also end up being the project manager or the editor. The editor is basically the project manager in a book, right?
Okay.
So I'm not saying this is what happened. I don't have paperwork or anything like that. This is pure speculation. But if book sales were starting to fall and your Bagley penciler, who was working on this book and he was maybe making $25,000 a year to draw this, moved up to the big leagues, Amazing Spider-Man, where he's probably getting, I'm making these numbers up, folks, $60,000 a year. All I'm saying is penciler, there's a penciling budget. Yeah. And it might have been, and I'm not saying this to bag on Pace. I think Pace has done a good job coming out of the box, and I like it, and I'm eager for more. But had you heard of him before this? Which means they probably got him cheaper, And back in 1990, whatever, saving $25,000 a year on a penciler, that's a lot of money on the budget of your book. That's a lot of copies that you can absorb. So there could have been a budgetary reason, is what I'm saying. And again, I can't stress enough that I think Richard Pace did great. So please don't take that as Richard Pace shade. Anybody who's new is going to get paid less. That's just how it works.
Yeah. And sure enough, when Mark Bagley started on New Warriors 1, he wasn't getting top billing paying at all.
No, everybody works their way up. If you're Marvel, you work your way up to Spidey, Cap, Avengers, I guess, X-Men. X-Men and Spidey are probably your two biggest gigs.
Yeah.
And DC, we all know it's Superman and Batman. Yeah, those are your two biggest gigs. And, I will tell you, the listeners, a peek behind the curtain, being inside the industry and all, you'd be surprised that, like, even if you're the top tier Superman, Batman level, you'd be surprised at how much money they don't make. I'm going to tell you right now, all those artists that work on Superman and Batman make more money on the con scene than they do. That's the reason they're on the con scene. If you're making a ton of money, would you even do all that traveling and catch all those colds and all that stuff? The bulk of their money is made on the convention scene.
It's the equivalent, essentially, of if you like your favorite artist, like musician, go to the concert.
Because that's where the money's made.
That's where the money's made.
Yes.
It is very rarely made for the album itself. I got you.
Yeah. I'm interested in this Pace guy. I don't know if he goes on to do other stuff. It's not a name that's familiar to me, but I think he's talented.
Okay. We got him for half a year or so, I think, before we moved to the soon-to-be full-time penciler Patrick Zurcher.
He's climbed the ladder. I know who he is. He's done Batman.
Yeah, Patrick Zurcher cut his teeth here on the New Warriors, and I really enjoyed his stuff. And so, but again, this was just a tweener time on the book. We're a few issues away from saying goodbye to Fabian Nicieza himself. And so this book was just in a transition. And to me, while the storyline was still there was just something about the book that was not the quality of, say, the first 25. And I'm usually not the one that brings up, because, a lot of Warriors fans are like, man, those first 25, gold standard. The rest, throw it away. I'm not like that.
I wouldn't say that either, but 25 is the strongest part, by my opinion, so far.
And so, I would say that from 1 to 25, and even from 25 till 46 or so, before Derek, took some time off to pencil a double size 50, you couldn't that. The story level to me here, art was here, and every time that happens, you usually got a book that's humming. Here, storyline stayed pretty good, but the artwork took a dip, and if anything, it would probably, at this point, with my adult eye, look at it, it just makes me wonder what was going on at the book at the time. Jason Lady added a comment and just said, I think for 18-year-old me, pace was jarring after Robertson. Now, with the benefit of experience and hindsight, I see a lot to admire in Pace's work. And so that's a good thing. I absolutely enjoy, this is one of the things I enjoy about reading the books now as an adult, that I did as a kid, that I can get a better appreciation for. And I agree with that. I think that Pace's artwork was a lot better. He wasn't just from New York City, he was authentic. He was authentic. He was at least from Santa Fe, Let's go ahead.
Hey, if I saw the dude at the con, I wouldn't, and I had the coin in my pocket, I'd get a sketch from him for sure. For sure. Hey, that's a good question. Maybe that'll be next month's episode. You get a sketch for Pace of any new warrior. Who are you going to get?
Right now, Thrasher.
It's Thrasher's. This is his best character right now. We'll see, though. We'll see how it does in issues to come. But yeah, they did him a little dirty, like you said. Here's 4 different inkers.
Right.
So, okay, we don't really know what it's going to look like.
Good luck.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, Warrior, Jarrod.
Oh, yeah, it is that time. Let's do Warrior and Warrior. You people in the chat, let us know who the Warrior and the Warrior is. There's not a lot going on here. I'm going to combine the two into the Warrior. Because I'm just going to say who's the most interesting character. There's not really anybody to worry about. I guess I'm going to worry about anybody. I'm going to worry about Cloak. Warrior, Night Thrasher for figuring all this team stuff out. But the most interesting character is the Mad Thinker. There's something interesting that could be done here. I'm nervous though, because you've often told me that after 50, it's kind of a short stint and he's gone, and he's not able to do what he wanted to do. I don't know if that thread's going to get picked up, or we're ever going to figure out why he has this vested interest, but that's interesting.
I think we do. Put a pin in it. My long range memory says we're going to at least see the Thinker in issue 75 to close out the book.
Listen, we don't memorize new words.
And you know what? No one has to even tell me that, because I want us to discover that together, and we got a couple of years to go. So if I had to pick an Ultimate Warrior, I'd say it's the Mad Thinker, because I'm always a fan of whoever advances the agenda. And I think that Mad Thinker was the one that at least wanted to let them know, hey, this thing that you're doing, continue to do it. Continue to find that thing that makes you special, and don't be afraid of change. I like that. I like the main thought behind that of hey, don't just sacrifice the ability to turn into something great just by staying where you are. So I like that idea. Warrior, I guess I'm more just worried about the team overall, because while they decided to essentially, ironically enough, stay put, they did say, hey, we're going to throw we need, you guys from some side quests or to step in and fill in. We're going to call, in a few of the Warriors reserves, and everyone seemed to be agreeable with that. I want to see how that new dynamic turns out, and how the team just cooperates from here, because they just had a huge big win with the Sphinx and everything, and now they're settled back in, and so I'm interested to see what happens in their upcoming adventures. Jason Lady, by the way, said Warrior was thrash managing all these people and changes. Warrior Alex Power, his little sib's gonna jack him up. I mean, if they tried, he could just take their powers. It's like, you're just a little kid now. Dude, I got the powers. Since we got time, all Renova says, I'm worried about everyone who can be painted in primary colors. With that, Warriors 51, Jarrod, 1 to 10.
Solid.
What would you rate the book?
Solid 8, which is high praise for a book that doesn't really have any action. It's an aftermath book with a new azimuth being plotted. So yeah, I'd give it a solid 8. Not bad. It wasn't depressing, especially around Justice. I killed my father because he beat me, but he beat me because his dad beat him because he couldn't have the sexuality he wanted. I was like, oh, stop, just leave him alone. And I tried to save him, but he wouldn't listen to me. Stop it.
So while Jarrod collapses over there,
anybody that doesn't have that starts at an 8 now. That's the new standard.
I'm gonna give it an 8 too. It was good. Not a breezy read as far as because it had a little bit of weight to it to me, but it wasn't. But it was a quick read and it was a good table setter as far as what the Warriors are going to do, because they had 14 new Warriors at the end of the book. So now they're back down to a manageable 7 or 8. So looks like the team dynamic is in place. A few storylines are, starting in the works there, and we're about to start off with our Warriors 52 and go from there. If anyone wants to get ratings in, like I'm about to read Jason Ladies, now is your time, as I'm about to do the wrap up. Jason gives it an 8, says it's a nice issue, nice transition issue. Always like these in team books where they're trying to figure out what to do with the new members. Me too, because a lot of times that happens after that big adventure. We just did a LONGBOX CRUSADE episode with Thunderbolts, and we kind of got that aftermath issue of a big adventure that they had, and that turned out to be a pretty interesting read, even though most people, including me, are like, huh? What the heck's going on? But
which was written by Fabian Nicieza.
So yeah, that's it, everybody. Come back and join us for the next episode where we discuss Warriors 52, where Cyanex returns. And if you want to hear more from us, LONGBOX CRUSADE, we're pretty much anywhere you want to find us. Podcast land, look for LONGBOX CRUSADE. You can just come out to play itself is not a separate feed. But if you go check out LONGBOX CRUSADE and any of the podcatchers, and then you could find come out to play there. X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LONGBOX CRUSADE. Patreon, we have a Crusaders Club that you could join for only $1 a month. And for YouTube, subscribe, please. Recorded and live content that's there too. Email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com. We got a phone number going on there, 707-532-5269. That is 707-532-LBOX. It's scrolling now, by the way.
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. And I'll pretend that I didn't see Jarrod do that last minute. Jarrod, where can you be found online?
I can be found at lots of different places. I am at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also find me at my local Publix, where I really like the naked spicy chicken wings.
Man, Publix makes some good chicken, boy.
Those chicken wings are insane, and they're priced accordingly.
Yeah, I've gotten many a bucket from there. I always get the thighs, and Miranda usually goes for the wings. Anyway, Delvin Ray, Instagram, Threads, and DEERAY1977 on Blue Sky if you want to find me. See y'all next time. And remember, be a hero to someone, even if it's just to yourself. Jarrod's going to lead us out with a bottle serenade. New Warriors come out to play. Yay. Everyone have a good night. I almost